Hi, everybody. This is the Patriot, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Yo, host, and welcome back to the Patriot. Hopefully, like this video and, of course, hit the subscribe button. We're very excited here. I'm very excited here for the new Trump administration, the 47th President of the United States taking office. Going to get rid of a lot of nonsense, a lot of money that's being wasted. It's going to be accounted for, I hope. But Democrats are not too happy, obviously. And they're making all kinds of threatening comments. Very concerned with them. They're very dangerous people, especially in Washington. I'm going to read you a couple of things here. What InfoWars put out, and then this op-ed piece that someone in the Congress put out. Very disturbing, to be honest with you, and we're going to get into it. So here's from InfoWars. Democrats should form shadow government. Isn't that what they have already? They do. To undermine Trump, says lawmaker. Democrats should create a shadow government to fight back against the worst excess of a second Trump administration, according to a prominent Democrat. Isn't that what they've been doing? Didn't they do that the first time? Representative Wiley Nickel suggested important roles in the shadow government for Adam Schiff. Oh, God, is that line? It's not a shadow government if everybody knows about it. Democrats should create a shadow government to fight back against the worst excesses of a second Trump administration, according to Democrat Representative Wiley Nickel. Nickel puts forth his idea in an op-ed for the Washington Post. He says the Democrats should draw inspiration from the British system, in which the main opposition party forms a shadow cabinet of ministers. Last week stung Nickel's rights. I mean, let me read you this. In the meanwhile, I'm going to read you the whole thing. I've not read it. Oh, nah. Now, I would, as I mentioned, I didn't mention this, it's behind a paywall. I'm not paying anything for the Washington Post. But they have all these excerpts on InfoWars. So here we go. As Democrats, we simply failed to convince the American people we have better ideas to solve their problems. Now we need to dust ourselves off and get ready to fight. We can't let Donald Trump's radical agenda go unanswered or unopposed. He continues. The special relationship between the U.S. and Britain extends not just to our strength on the world stage, but also to our shared belief in democracy. Across the Atlantic, the British have something we don't, a team from the opposition that mirrors the government's cabinet members. They watch the cabinet closely, publicly challenging, scrutinizing, and offering new ideas. It's another form of checks and balances, a quiet guardrail that keeps power accountable. I have a question. Is this in the Constitution? Is there like a fourth branch? Is this what we've been fighting for the last, the people have been fighting for the last 70 years, 80 years? Is this fourth branch of government? What's he talking about? He continues. He suggests a senior role in this shadow government course could be filled by Adam Schiff, God, one of the biggest lying scumbags. Quote, if Trump attempts to weaponize the justice system against his political opponents with Matt Gaetz at the helm, we can see an incoming Senator Adam Schiff as our shadow attorney general. I mean, this is delusional. Arguing against replacing our independent prosecutors with Trump loyalists, he said, ignoring the great irony that Democrats have used the justice system to target their political opponents, Trump and his supporters throughout the entirety of the Biden-Harris administration. Other potential picks include Jahana Hayes as shadow education secretary, Greg Meeks as shadow secretary of state, and Adam Schiff as shadow defense secretary. New times require new solutions, Nichols adds. So he's basically turning his back against the Constitution. He's basically saying that the Constitution doesn't work, and then we're not going to take it. I mean, this is what is. When they just call themselves the Confederates, is going back to who they really are. Isn't that what they did? During the Civil War, they created their own government and the whole system, and it was a disaster. But I mean, every pathetic loser in Washington, from him to Adam Schiff, Greg Meeks, Adam Smith as shadow defense secretary, it's insane. I wouldn't mention it. He mentions the British. I've been sort of thinking about this a lot lately. Sort of, because I've been learning a lot about history on X. Been on X a lot. I'm at X, at the baseball hut, believe it or not, and that's going to stay that way. You don't know I'm a big YouTuber on baseball and the New York Mets. I've been watching a lot of documentaries here and there, little clips here and there. If you look at the history of our country, we've had, obviously, we were the 13 colonies. We were colonists under Great Britain. And King George III caused all kinds of problems for the colonists, and they basically separated, and the country became, the United States. Well, one thing I learned in the last 100 years is that the sort of beginnings of all the problems in the world, particularly with our country, started about 100 years ago with implementing the income tax, implementing the Federal Reserve. If you look at where the Federal Reserve was, where it caused problems, to now, the year after the Federal Reserve was created by the Congress, World War I began. And we helped fight that war for England. World War II, we fought the war for England because they lost the war. They were losing and they lost the war to Germany. Germany basically defeated them. And it wasn't until we got into the war, that's when things turned around. But we've been fighting all the wars of Europe since that point. And from what I've learned about the Royal Crown, what I've learned about King Charles, the people may be our friends, but the government isn't, and the royals aren't. And we should start to separate ourselves away from them again, because this is a major problem. I didn't think much of it my whole life, but now I'm starting to see the problem now for what it is. I mean, if you think about it, who was in Korea? The French, before we got there. Who was in Vietnam before we got there? The French. So we were helping the French continue their war behind the scenes. And now we're fighting Russia. Russia was never our enemy. They were never our enemy. Up until after World War II. They are the they're the ancient enemy of the British, the French, the Germans. Why have we made them our enemy? I mean, they're not our friends, but why have we made them our enemy? Now, again, this shadow government, isn't this what we've been fighting against? Isn't this what's causing all the problems in our country? Along with this financial system that we've been under for the last 100 years, it's a very sort of complicated thing. I don't really know all the ins and outs. I kind of have my thoughts in history, but now I'm starting to really see a different kind of look at the world and a different look at our country over the last many, many decades. And it's scary. But hopefully, with these new people coming in, all this stuff is going to get lifted. And I was always told growing up that don't lie, because at some point the truth is going to come out. The truth always comes out. My parents always told me that. Never lie, because if you lie, the truth will come out. And that's what's happening here. Simple thing that your parents tell you. That's another thing they hate. They hate families and stuff. The truth always comes out. No matter what happens, no matter how many lies you tell, the truth comes out. When it does, it's a shock. And then eventually you realize it, you absorb it, and then it comes through. But we can't have a separate system here. There's a reason why we broke away from the mad King George III. And this new king, he's mad too. And I don't mean mad like he's mad, he's angry. That's how people used to call crazy. Crazy George III and crazy King Charles. And he is crazy. But we need to separate ourselves from this. And this shadow government, we should stay away from the British. We have some of their system in terms of the government, but there's a reason why we have a completely different system in a lot of ways, and it's better. They don't have a Second Amendment, which protects the First Amendment. They don't have anything. That's why they're having so many problems there, where all these citizens are being attacked on the street by these invaders there. But let me know what you think about this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Patriot Hut. I'll see you later.